Good evening and welcome to our regular meeting of the Guilford County Board of Education. I'd like to turn to Board Member Pat Tillman to open our meeting. Thank you. We are at recognitions, and let me get the first thing out here. As a mom of a Dudley alum, I am especially proud to for this first thing on our agenda. For our first recognition, we will celebrate students from the Dudley High track and field team who earned state championship titles this year. This past season for Dudley men's track and field was a year of firsts. The team went undefeated, winning conference, county, regional, and state championships. Seniors Larry Monroe, Stephen Davis II, Jonathan Smith, Elvis Berry, and Michael Shaw led the team to the first state title in Dudley High history. Individual first place titles were earned in the following events. Stephen Davis II, Asa Bonds, Michael Shaw, and Larry Monroe won the 4x400 relay. Stephen Davis II took first in the high jump event. Isaiah Monroe won the 100-meter dash, the 400-meter dash, and the 200-meter dash, in which he set a new state meet record, besting the time set in 1987. He was also named Most Outstanding Performer. This was Coach Tequil Jackson's first year as head coach of the boys program, and this amazing season resulted in him being named the North Carolina Boys Track Coach of the Year. Now a Guilford County School graduate, Larry Monroe is running track at Tennessee, while Stephen Davis II and Elvis Berry are both playing football at their respective universities. Stephen is at North Carolina State A&T State University, and Elvis is at Winston-Salem State University. At this time, we'd like to invite the athletes, their coaches, and families to come forward so that we can offer our congratulations. Next, we will recognize our September Employee of the Month. Kenyatta Williams, will you please come to the podium? Her computer, complete with pink keyboard, can be found in the front office of Southwest Elementary, but Kenyatta Williams isn't likely to be sitting at her computer for very long. As general assistant, her job is to do whatever is needed, whether that's helping scan N1 cards for more than 800 students, administering medicine to students on a care plan, or substituting in a classroom. Miss K, as she's known, loves the variety of her day and the students and families she serves. Last week, she was named September Guilford County School Employee of the Month. Kenyatta was nominated by several individuals who worked with her during summer learning. Wrote Michelle Tessiero of Colfax Elementary. Her presence creates an inviting environment. When you enter Southwest Elementary, you are welcomed with a cheerful greeting and a genuine smile. Miss K is consistently friendly and has a positive attitude. She is a team player who always makes herself available to help in any way that she can. During summer school, she went out of her way to be kind, supportive, and helpful to students and staff members who came from other schools. Her spirit, energy, enthusiasm make Southwest Elementary a great place to work and learn. Kenyatta received a $50 gift card courtesy of the Greensboro Jaycees, and during the month of September, her photo will hang at the district central offices at Southwest Elementary and at the Greensboro Jaycees office. At this time, I'd like to ask Board Member Kim Irby to read aloud the certificate honoring Kenyatta.
Thank you. Guilford County Board of Education Certificate of Recognition presented to Kenyatta Williams, Southwest Elementary, for Employee of the Month, sponsored by Greensboro Jaycees, signed by our Superintendent, Dr. Whitney Oakley, and our Board Chair, Dina Hayes.
Thank you, Kim. Ms. Williams, would you like to say a few words?
I'm just excited to be able to work for Guilford County Schools. I feel like I've really been welcomed in, and I feel like I'm at home, especially at Southwest with Dr. Buchanan and Principal Lloyd and Ms. Snyder, and it's just been an amazing opportunity for me.
Well, thank you. And at this time, the board would like to congratulate you ourselves and anyone from your school, your family that's with you. Come on down. And finally tonight, we will recognize another outstanding employee, this time in the field of music education, Davis Cahill. Will you please come to the podium? Davis Cahill, a piano teacher at Jefferson Elementary, was named as the first ever Lang Lang International Music Foundation Keys of Inspiration Teacher of the Year. Davis, now in his 5th year as a Keys of Inspiration teacher, was recognized for providing meaningful and accessible music education to his students. Among his accomplishments are developing and teaching a 2-week Keys of Inspiration summer program that was made available through the Summer Art Institute in 2022, providing private after-school piano lessons for students plus 1 adult guitar student, creating a safe, creative space in his classroom that teaches community, empathy, and critical thinking, and creating relevant and engaging lessons using the Lang Lang Keys of Inspiration curriculum and integrating music that students hear every day on the radio or streaming platform of their choice. As the 2022 Keys of Inspiration Teacher of the Year Award, Davis will receive a trip to New York to attend the Lang Lang and Friends Gala concert on September 21st, where he will be presented as the KOI Teacher of the Year. Also, recognition on the Lang Lang International Music Foundation website and social media, a certificate celebrating his accomplishment, and a $5,000 prize to spend as he chooses. Jefferson Elementary is one of 12 Guilford County Title I schools to operate a grant-funded Keys of Inspiration Piano Lab. 2nd through 5th grade students at these schools participate in group piano lessons twice per week. At this time, I'd like to ask Board Member Pat Tillman to read aloud the certificate honoring Davis.
Okay, get my mic on. Mr. Cahill, on behalf of the Guilford County Board of Education and the superintendent, we are pleased to present this certificate of recognition to you, Davis Cahill of Jefferson Elementary, as the Lang Lang International Music Foundation Keys of Inspiration Teacher of the Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Mr. Cahill, would you like to say a few words?
I do. I have a few things I want to say. You already pointed out that we have 12 long schools in our county. Today, it's okay. Lang Lang. Important guy. We only have 80 in the United States. So the fact that 12 of those are in Guilford County is a massive accomplishment for the district, but also for our students and the opportunities that they're given. So I wanted everyone to be aware of that. And I wanted to thank you guys first for the support that you guys give the arts as a district, as a whole. You all recognize the unique role that it plays in developing our whole children, not just academically, but creatively. I also want to thank Leanne Little, who's been a huge advocate for me, also a solace for all of the music educators during the past few years. So thank you, Leanne Little. Next, Sue Villarubia and Donna Harper, my principal and assistant principal at Jefferson. They're absolutely fabulous people. They've cultivated a culture that is one of the happiest schools that I've ever been at in my life. They teach, or they lead with intense love, patience, and grace, and it shines through the students. So if you haven't visited Jefferson Elementary, please take a trip over. And last, I want to thank my family. My mom and dad are here today. I truly owe them everything. My mom has been my biggest advocate since I was born, in a very outspoken way. My dad is my number 2 fan in a much more subtle way. But I truly owe them every achievement, so I appreciate them being here. But thank you guys. Thank you so much for leading a district that really develops our next generation to be empathetic, responsible, and creative. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Cahill, we'd like to congratulate you and any of your family members that are here and anyone here from your school or anyone here to support you. We'd like the opportunity to congratulate them as well. Well, what a great evening to start out our meeting. We are now at public comments, and as we call your name to the podium, we just want to remind everyone, please give your name and address. You have 3 minutes to make your comments. When the amber light comes on, you have 15 seconds left. When the red light comes on, your time is up, and we'd like to ask you to quickly wrap up your comments so that we have time for all of the speakers on our list. So the first speaker we have tonight is Mary Ann Adams, followed by Barbara Leland. Mary Ann Adams, followed by Barbara Leland. Welcome.
Good evening. Hello. My name is Mary Ann Adams. I live at 22 Aggie Court, Greensboro, North Carolina. And I have to tell you, I'm very frustrated. Very frustrated with the Exceptional Children's Office and the Transportation Office. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter. No, 8-year-old granddaughter who's in 3rd grade. And for the past 3 years, we've had bus issues, which doesn't make no sense to me because she's been going to the same school. But May 2022, I put in the bus transportation information. I gave it to the EC student counselor at her school. On August 29th, there was no bus. I called the school. They said they submitted it. I called transportation. They said she's not on the bus. There's no record of her. I go down to EOC. I go down to the Exceptional Children's Office at this point because now I'm frustrated. Very, very angry and very, very frustrated. I'm talking about this is the year 2022. I go down to the Exceptional Children's Office. They find her application. On her application, there's a note that says, please expedite this request. Okay? That's the first thing that makes me upset. Second thing that makes me upset, I get a call August 30th talking about she can't go to her after-school program that she went to last year because she's no longer in the district, which doesn't make no sense. To me, that every student in Guilford County doesn't go to the same after-school program in their district. It's not possible because it'll be full, okay? I have to get off work every day now and pick her up from school because she has no place to go. That's not conducive for me because I work for myself. I'm losing money. Time is money for me. Otherwise, I have to pay somebody to go pick her up. That's the problem, okay? This has been going on, like I said, for 3 years. In 2021, I put an application in June. No bus come the first day of school. I put another application in August 24th. Takes me 14 days to get the bus. In 2020, she wasn't in school, so there was no problem. 2019, y'all lost her. She went to a different school than what she's supposed to do. The bus dropped her off, and she did not go to the right school. Now, to me, there's no communication here. There's a big problem with this. If you change the rules, I should have known about it in August, or May, or June. She's an exceptional child. She needs a routine. She does not have that routine right now because y'all have thrown her off. It took me 2 years to get into to the after-school center she's in right now because it is conducive for her. She likes the people know her. But now you want me to break her routine and take her anywhere you want me to take her. That's not conducive. And she can't come to my office every day and she cannot go home. Explain to me what I need to do here because this is a 3-year problem since 2019. And I am not very happy with it. And now my time is up. I got it.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. And I'm trying to think of, who's that?
Kimberly Steinke.
Thank you. Ms. Steinke's back there to talk with you, Ms. Adams. Thank you. Barbara Leland, followed by Janet Inman. Welcome.
I'm Barbara Leland, 4838 Tower Road, Greensboro. Superintendent Oakley, Board Chair Hayes, and board members, thank you for your vision and investment in our children, families, educators, and community members. Pat Tillman, thank you for working with us earlier on our local Safer Schools team. School safety is every child's right. School safety is every educator's right. During my educational career, I taught 4,000 plus students in our public schools, 3rd through 8th graders in math and or science, full-time, and at 5 local colleges part-time. With our governor's North Carolina Center for Safer Schools, I served on 3 steering committees: mental health of our children, classroom organization, gang prevention and intervention. With my 5th through 8th graders, 9 through 15 years old, I faced student-on-student bullying, fights, illegal drugs, sexual assaults, 2 rapes, brass knuckles, knives, gun, 4 student written threats of violence, suicide attempts, and I am just one teacher. In the 90s, while teaching middle school mathematics, at the end of one school day, we teachers learned a gun had been passed back and forth between a sub's classroom on our team and students' lockers. The following day, I asked students in each of my 5 classes to respond to 4 questions posted. How and when did you learn about the gun on our team? What were you feeling? What would have helped you share with an adult? What could we do to better safeguard our students, our children? The innocence, fear, and helplessness shared in students' writing was revealing and heartbreaking. Students did not know how to tell. Students did not want to be seen talking to adults, did not want to be seen in counselors' or administrators' offices. Students discussed and created the following. Let students write notes to me and slide notes into my hand as I circulated about the classroom. Create and set a box near the classroom door so students could place notes in the box if they did not get them into my hand. We discussed how no classmate would know what they were sharing. Questions about their academics, a headache or stomach ache, lack of sleep, parents going through a divorce, safety issues. Janet is going to finish this. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Inman, followed by Ebony Burnett.
Yes, I'm Janet Inman. I live at 101 Leonard Drive here in Greensboro. As Barbara was saying, we discussed that students did not need to include their names. If students did sign their names, I would respond within 24 hours, if not by the end of the day, or if not by the end of my planning period. Daily, students began sliding notes into my hand, sharing challenges they were facing or observing, safety issues including bullying, suicide attempts, illegal drugs, upcoming fights, weapons. Almost every student included his or her name, wanting a return note. I strongly encourage parents and educators to include this note sharing in their children's classrooms. Under the radar is a term we use when students are aware of situations before adults. Students' note sharing was instrumental in helping me learn under the radar situations that our students were facing. The highest priority of school leaders, elected officials, and communities should be to ensure a safe environment for quality education. Research reveals that a child must feel safe, loved, and valued to be most receptive to learning. Academic success increases with a focus on safety. Also, many students who act out, threaten others, and/or commit violent crimes are crying for help. Do not let students' cries for help go ignored. We must effectively ensure and assure the safety of our children and school personnel. School safety is every child's right. School safety is every educator's right.
Thank you both. Ebony, you can just give that here and she'll make sure we get a copy of it. Thank you. It's good to see you, Ms. Leland. Ebony Burnett, followed by Betsy Harrington. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Ebony Burnett, and I live at 102 Carson Farms Drive in Burlington. I am represented by Linda Wellborn. Hey. Thank you all for your time and your service. My son and daughter attend Gibsonville Elementary, and I absolutely love their school and the amazing educators and support team that love on my babies every day. I do want to speak to you today about ensuring that our schools are able to teach full and accurate history to our students. My hope is that they are getting the information they need to make informed decisions as our 21st century leaders. I knew that when my children were born, the odds were already against them, especially my son with special needs. According to the United Negro College Fund, in comparison to their white classmates, my children, because they are brown, have a higher likelihood of being stigmatized by their teachers, are more likely to be viewed as adults at an earlier age, and are more likely to be stopped by the police than their white classmates. These are disparities that impact Black and brown children regardless of income. And they will continue if we are afraid to confront the uncomfortable history and foundations on which our country was created. A CBS poll stated that 76% of Americans feel that schools should be allowed to teach ideas and historical events that might make some students uncomfortable. Harvard philosopher George Santayana even said, "Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it." We've all heard that, right? We are doing children a gross disservice by not teaching them the hard truths of history and by not being honest and upfront with them. When we confront our painful history, then we will be able to heal broken hearts and broken homes. Strengthening communities is not a zero-sum game. When we heal one community, we know that all families will thrive. Not just for Black and brown children, but for all children. We want to build a society of empathetic 21st century thinkers who can make informed decisions and build a future that they want for themselves. Not one we want for them, but what they want for themselves. But we can only do that when they have all the tools in their tool bag. By teaching our full history with both the glory and the gory, we are supplying them with the tools of empathy, love, courage, honor, respect, perseverance, dignity, and pride. Pride in themselves and pride in the equitable path our country is taking. In the sentiments of Whitney Houston, give them a sense of pride to make it easier to learn to love themselves and their country, because that is the greatest love of all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We show our appreciation by doing this. Thank you. Betsy Harrington, followed by Karen Baldwin. I hope I said that right.
Good evening. My name is Betsy Harrington. I live at 1602 Alderman Drive in Greensboro. And I'm here tonight really to congratulate and say thank you. I'm congratulating Dr. Oakley. We're so glad to have you here. I'm excited about your appointment and about your vision for schools here in our community and your leadership. And thank you, board members, for your continued service on behalf of the schools and for all of the children in our system. Here it's September, and I know everybody is scrambling to settle into the rhythm of a new school year. New students, new staff, new resources, new classrooms, along with all those challenges that come along. Students' diverse learning styles and their needs, the enormous disparities in income that children come in, the resources that some are lacking, the bullying, the mental and physical health issues, children who are food insecure or experiencing homelessness, young people struggling with their sexuality, children who are dealing with dysfunction and violence in their homes, and on it goes. Our schools are a microcosm of our society. And the teachers, the principals, all the support staff, administrators are called on to serve the needs of all of those children, meaning that sometimes they're called on to serve the role of, among other things, a social worker, a counselor, a parent figure, a first responder, a mediator, a food distributor, and on it goes. These are not necessarily roles that they were prepared for with their education classes. This is not the world I grew up in. It's not even the world that my children grew up in. And the schools today need to prepare children for the increasingly diverse world that they are growing up in. Our knowledge and information bases are expanding as we learn more, and children need to be lifelong learners, to be open to learning new things over their lifetimes. Above all, they need to learn to think, and they need to learn how to critique the flood of information, misinformation, disinformation that they're regularly exposed to on the expanded media options that are available to them that were not there before. So anyway, I'm here tonight just to say thank you for your commitment to our public schools and to the children in these schools. I know you will continue to work on behalf of all the students across the county, and you will continue to support our educators as they devote their lives to teaching and nurturing our most precious legacy. During the pandemic, we learned a term that I think is a terrific descriptor for our educators. They are truly essential workers, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Baldwin, I hope I'm saying your name right, followed by Nicole Gaines.
Hi, my name is Karen. Last name is B-O-U-L-D as in dog, I-N. It's actually pronounced Bolden. I am at 3904 Nash Street here in Greensboro. And my concern today is about what has happened with the property of Irwin Montessori School. It was damaged several years ago with our tornado, but it has now been allowed to become a truck stop trash hole, for lack of a better word. I drive by daily. And I'm not talking about one or two trucks. I'm talking about 4 18-wheelers stacked up in there on a regular basis. And the only way that they could know that that's a safe place is if nobody has stopped them yet. And it's annoying because last week, my tipping point was the Amazon truck. Amazon is in Kernersville. Irwin Montessori School is nowhere near the highway, not a major thoroughway. So somebody had to have said, oh yeah, we've been parking there for years, it's safe, and nobody does anything. I've called, been passed from person to person to person, gotten told that's not my department, or I don't know, or I just don't get a phone call back. If I wanted to live around a truck stop and some of the very unsavory things that come along with truck stops, I'll leave that to most adults' imagination. I would move to Whitson, around the corner from the Flying J. And I'm tired of Greensboro and Guilford County forgetting that Greensboro extends beyond Elm Street, beyond A&T, beyond 29. We're already fighting a food desert. This is a building that y'all have. I understand you couldn't get out there the next morning and fix it. Did 6 groundbreakings in the past month. We lost 3 schools. One was torn down. I'm assuming the other one's torn down. And y'all just don't care about Irwin Montessori School and what we have to see when we drive in and out of our neighborhood or around our neighborhood. There's a church across the street. They use that parking lot, never a problem. They come in on Sunday, go back out. Truck after truck after truck after truck. I addressed it with another lot that was owned by City of Greensboro. They took care of it in a matter of a couple hours. This has been going on. And I hate to come here and stand up in front of everybody because this is not my area of expertise, but I'm frustrated. I don't want to be a Karen. I used to like my name. I really don't like it anymore, but I felt I needed to come and be a Karen today. Our children shouldn't have to see just trucks sitting there. I've actually witnessed truck drivers get on city buses and go to their neighborhood and get off the city bus, hop in their rig, and drive off. So that's my deal.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ms.
very
Bolden.
much.
And Ms. Michelle Reed from the district will give you an update on Irwin, but thank you for coming and sharing that with us. And our final speaker this evening is Nicole Gaines. Final.
Final, I'll make it good.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm so proud to be here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I know many of you. In my former life, I was a bookstore owner, the Living Room Book and Pastry on East Market Street, but that is a long time ago. My volunteer life has led me here. My name is Alicia Nicole Gaines. I reside at 500 Peach Orchard Drive. That's near Brown Summit, but on the edge of Greensboro. I'm here to represent a group that you guys have probably been familiar with called Solar Power Now. Solar Power Now, I'm the diversity and equity person that comes up and talks to you about this. So with the demands, or actually the acts, we know that we've gone over we specifically asked the Board of Education during the 22-23 school year to at least comply with the energy policies and procedures that GCS adopted back in 2005. The other, update the 2005 policy to include an explicit commitment to transition to 100% clean energy, which is good for everybody. Number 3, make energy efficiency an explicit priority for all architects and builders for higher construction projects, and require all construction to meet LEED for building silver standards at a minimum. We are currently at silver standards with the city. Now, I wanted to go into not only points 3 and point 4 here about transition to clean energy. We do know that the city of Greensboro is working on its 21st electric bus. 21st, we have 16, almost 60% of the city's buses are electric. Why can't we do that for our school system? Electric buses, so the kids won't come out either smelling like fried chicken or smelling like exhaust. So I'm going to talk about very quickly, first point 3. Ask that energy efficiency give an explicit priority to all architects and builders hired for construction projects, and require all construction to meet LEED for building silver standards. And the issue, too often city planners and developers look to architectural firms to set the bar and the goal in design architecture. The public depends on the word and will of designers, who in turn limit opportunities based on financial gain or loss. It is time to flip that kind of thinking. I ask that the GCS School Board to lead the charge within its exercised authority, encourage the LEED Green Build community to seek and employ mission-driven processes. And I have a feeling we'll be talking about these again. Greenprint, a framework for becoming a healthy, equitable, and sustainable school. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention I serve as chair of our Sustainability Council, and we had a meeting last night, and they knew I was going to come talk to you guys. All right. These ideas are born from creative collaborations and not closed think tanks. I would suggest that we also enlist Mass Design Group, MASS, nonprofit group, to look into to help guide us with those goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we are now at approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Board member Deborah Napper wanted to be here this evening, but is unable to be here. So we are now at reports, and like to again say good evening and welcome. I'm pleased to officially welcome Superintendent. Did you do consent? Sorry, why am I just moving past that? Thank you. All right, Dr. Oakley, we are now at the consent agenda.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. This evening's consent agenda includes the approval of the August meeting minutes, the personnel report, the contractual agreement with TA Loving Callis MEG for demolition and abatement of the new Visual and Performing Arts School, the contractual agreement with Samet Corporation for bid package number 1 at Claxton Elementary School replacement school project, the contractual agreement with Barnhill Holt Brothers for demolition and abatement at Faust Robotics and Gaming School replacement school project, the contractual agreement with Metcon for pre-construction at Kaiser Middle School replacement school project, and the contractual agreement with D.A. Everett Chrisman for early mobilization at the Peck Expeditionary Learning School project. That concludes this evening's consent agenda for your consideration.
Thank you. And there were no requests to have anything pulled, I believe. Ms. Irby had. Okay. But other than that, the other questions were answered that were on here. Diane?
And this doesn't have to be answered tonight, but I would like to know or have some idea of what our MWBE participation is for each of these contractual agreements.
It's within each memo.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure it's there. Thank you.
Can we get a motion?
Move the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Okay. Any other questions? All right, Anita? Betty? Kim?
Yes.
Winston?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Pat? Diane? And Dina, yes. That passes by a vote of 8-0. All right, now we're at reports from the chair. All right, so again, I'm pleased to officially welcome Superintendent Dr. Whitney Oakley for her first Board of Education meeting. Dr. Oakley has been a familiar presence at our meetings for many years, and she looks right at home sitting up here with us. Thursday marks the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we wish to celebrate our families of Latin American heritage. More than 12,000 of our students identify as Hispanic or Latinx. Many Latin American countries will celebrate their independence this month, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, and Chile. Shift Ed, formerly known as Say Yes Guilford, will host a free SAT and ACT prep class on Thursday, September 15th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Register online at shifted-ed.org/opportunities or look for the link on our social media channels. Also on Thursday, the Exceptional Children's Department will host a community open house at their offices at 134 Franklin Boulevard from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Participants will have the opportunity to meet members of the EC leadership team, learn how the EC department supports students in schools, meet other parents and stakeholders. Information about the Exceptional Children's Parent Advisory Committee will also be available. Guilford Parent Academy will hold a help session for parents who need assistance with the meal benefits application. This session will take place on Thursday, September 29th from 5:30 to 6:30 at 501 West Washington Street in Greensboro, and the registration form is available on our website. And lastly, I want to remind families that the 7th and 12th graders must submit proof that they have received the required immunizations within 30 calendar days of the first day of school. That deadline is Tuesday, September 27th for those on the traditional calendar. Immunizations are available from your healthcare provider or the county health department. And this concludes my remarks. Dr. Oakley?
Good evening. I want to begin by thanking the Board of Education again for placing their confidence in me to serve this great school district as your superintendent. I'm grateful to our board chair and all the board members for their kind welcome during the past 2 weeks. I'm thrilled to be serving this board and our community in the place that I call home. Guilford County Schools was one of 15 districts highlighted by the White House for our use of federal dollars to lead academic recovery efforts. I was honored to participate in a national press call about those efforts, a call that included First Lady Jill Biden, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, and U.S. Representative Kathy Manning. I shared information about our district tutoring program and summer learning opportunities, and I want to thank teachers, staff, tutors, and students for your hard work. Guilford County Schools was also in the spotlight during the First Lady's recent visit to North Carolina A&T State University just yesterday. I was among the teachers, principals, and district leaders and board members who heard her speak about the need to grow and support teacher preparation programs in our nation's schools of education. Several students from the A&T 4 Middle College and the STEM Early College at A&T also participated in the event on Monday. On August 29th, I visited several schools that follow the traditional calendar to welcome students for their first day of school. I had the opportunity to visit with my elementary principal, Doris Henderson, who was the school leader at Guilford Primary School, which is now named the Doris Henderson Newcomer School, and it was such an honor to have her there later that week to share in my joy at being named superintendent. Now that all schools are back in session, I do want to remind families about the importance of good attendance. Students can't learn if they're not present. Our teachers look forward to seeing their students each day and watching them learn and grow. We'll speak more about our accountability measures later this evening. However, I do want to thank all of our students and staff for their hard work and effort. Our learning recovery efforts are beginning to pay off. Guilford County Schools has released its graduation schedule for 2023. Ceremonies will take place between May 24th and June 11th for 30 schools. View the full schedule on the calendar section of our website at gcsnc.com. On Thursday, the district will honor its award-winning educators during the Celebration of Excellence, which is happening this year at Eastern High School. 7 major awards will be announced, including Principal and Teacher of the Year. Thank you to Guilford Education Alliance, Racial Equity Institute, and the Bryan Foundation for sponsoring this year's event. Our operations team will host a hiring fair on Saturday, September 17th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bus Garage at 131 Franklin Boulevard. Bring your resume, talk to our staff, and apply on the spot. Refreshments will be provided. On August 22nd and 23rd, I had the opportunity to participate in 6 groundbreaking ceremonies with board members, community leaders, and elected officials for our 2020 bond schools under construction. The ceremonies marked a major milestone for these schools and for our construction efforts as a whole. I look forward to seeing these buildings take shape over the next 2 years and more groundbreakings to come as we begin work on the 2022 bond schools. I want to provide an update on the security measures at large gathering events. Following the successful use of the security scanners at our high school entrances during the first week of schools, we have begun using them at large public gatherings, including performances and athletic events. As an additional safety measure, starting on September 23rd, not this Friday, but the following, GCS will only allow clear bags at all athletic events. Bags used for medical purposes or for infant care will still be allowed, as well as small clutch bags. It's important that visitors to our sporting events feel safe and welcome in our facilities, and we appreciate your continued efforts to ensure that our games are enjoyable for all. We will also continue to explore additional safety and security measures throughout the year. Finally, in the next few weeks, I will be announcing a series of community conversations to discuss our hopes and dreams for our graduates and envision a shared future as a community. Together, we will develop a unified vision for what public education can and should be post-pandemic. GCS is on the verge of a new chapter, one full of opportunity and promise for the future of our children and grandchildren. I believe in the power of public education to bring people together to change the world. We will do it for our students, for our families, and for our community, and we will do it together. Please be on the lookout for more information in the near future, and this concludes my remarks. I'll now ask Angie Henry to open us up for the student meal charges presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Oakley. We're just going to take just a few minutes to talk about student meal charges in our school nutrition program. But first, I want to just remind us about the federal waivers that ended over the summer. There were some that were extended, but some did end over the summer. We're going to talk about the PEBT cards, the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer cards, the charged meal plan, and then the 22-23 student meal charges. So as we, again, talk about federal waivers, the waiver for free school meals did end. It was not extended, but for 22-23 year, the following waivers were extended for at least some portion of the year. The flexibility for meal pattern due to supply chain issue disruptions and how those impacted school meals. So we have a waiver still through June of 2023 for our meal patterns. The waiver for non-congregate feeding does end on September 30th. The waiver that allowed parents to pick up meals for children does expire at the end of September. The mealtime restrictions waiver expires at the end of September. And the USDA did increase federal reimbursements for lunch by 40 cents, and for school breakfast by 15 cents, in addition to the annual inflation increase scheduled for July 1st. So we will be receiving an increase in the reimbursement for each meal that we do serve. We continue looking at the impact of federal waivers. Since meals are no longer being served free, we have made a concerted effort to collect free and reduced meal priced applications this school year since school has started. In fact, we started doing that last spring. Students in non-CEP schools that do not qualify for free or reduced price meals will be in full pay status right away. unless they were free last year and don't qualify this year. If they were free last year, they have the 30 days that they can eat on last year's status. Students enrolled in our virtual school are not eligible to participate in the National School Lunch Program and do not qualify for free or reduced price meals when they're not on a school campus. In 22-23, the state of North Carolina included in its budget non-recurring funds to provide school lunches for students that qualify for reduced price meals for free. So no student that qualifies for a reduced price meal will have to pay the reduced cost for that meal. And then, again, as I just mentioned, the 21-22 status carries over for the first 30 days of the 22-23 school year. For the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer, or the PEBT cards, students are eligible until the health emergency ends, students will still be eligible to receive the PEBT cards. And those cards offer food assistance if the student was eligible for free or reduced price meals through the National School Lunch Program or attend a community eligibility school in May of 2022. So we did, as a reminder, start asking principals to collect free and reduced price meals last April at their principal meeting to start having students and families complete those for last year so that families would be able to qualify if they were not attending a CEP school or were not directly certified. Also, students that applied for free and reduced price meals through August 31st and were approved are eligible to receive the PEBT cards. When we talk, now that we are have students back in full pay status, I wanted to bring the charged meal plan back to the board just for information. In June 2012, because we had meal charges that were approaching $500,000, the Board of Education at that time approved a charged meal plan that established a cap on the number of meals that any student could charge, and then allowed us to serve an alternative meal once that cap was met. The alternative meal was made up of fruits or vegetables that were on the serving line that day, a roll, and a cup of water. As we start the 22-23 school year and understand that there are students and families who we're still trying to reach to be sure that they complete applications and that they can get approved for free or reduced price meals as they qualify. As far as student meal charges go, between now and December 2022, before the winter break, school nutrition staff are going to place Connect Ed calls to parents or guardians of students with low balances or negative balances. We won't contact parents or families with students who have zero balances because that may be intentional. We will be mailing letters to parents indicating that there's a balance due to school nutrition if a student has a negative balance. And then if that seems to be a consistent issue for a student, we'll be working with principals or asking principals to work with their social workers, their counselors, or interpreters in their schools to reach out to parents or guardians of students who consistently continue to not have funds available to pay for a meal and have not completed a free or reduced priced application. Once we come back from winter break, we will start back with the charged meal plan as outlined earlier, which means there will be an allowance to charge up to the value of 5 lunches and 5 breakfasts, and then after that an alternative meal will be served. However, it's very important to note that we've communicated to all of our school nutrition staff, regardless of a student's balance, if they get through the lunch line and to the cashier with a full meal, then that meal will be served. We will not take trays away from students, regardless of what their balance is. It's also important to note that we will not allow students to charge a la carte or extra items. However, if a student has funds with them and they want to buy an ice cream or something extra, we'll allow them to do that and not require that they pay those funds toward a meal balance or a charge balance if they have one. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions we have about the charge meal plan.
Diane, Winston, Kim, Anita.
I think this is page 7. Are we accepting donations before? I think in the past, we waited until the end of the year and then said, oh, you know, we've got X amount of dollars, and people would come forward and donate at the end. Do we accept donations ahead of time?
Absolutely. Anybody can submit a donation to the school nutrition program. If they want to donate to the district-wide, or if they'd like to donate for a specific school, they can indicate that and mail a check, or if they want to contact us to pay in some other format, they're welcome to do so, but they can send that to the finance office here at 712 North Eugene Street.
How much is a lunch?
Lunch is $2.85.
For all grades, or?
Yes, it's the same price for all students in full pay status, yes.
Okay. Do they have to pay for breakfast?
Yes, breakfast is $1 if they're in full pay status, and they're not at a school that has a universal free breakfast.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Winston.
So I have questions, but some of them I could probably ask later. I do want to point out the inanity of this, and that the federal government's decided it's just too expensive to continue with something we've been doing. So now we have principals spending valuable time, social workers and teachers, central office staff. So, I mean, we're spending the money and we're robbing kids of the interaction of trained professionals. But so it just, again, the inanity of how this sort of plays out makes me a little crazy. I am curious, and you probably can't answer the question today, but can we get a little bit of the demographics, or what do we know about the kids who have the balances, or is it more high school kids or elementary kids? Is it, is it really kids on free and reduced lunch who haven't filled out the paperwork, or is it, upper income kids? Because there's just a lot of mythology or guesses or scenarios that fly around out there. So I think at some point, as we move into this, but again, staff time is limited to dig into all that data. Whatever we can get to better understand, who's got these balances and why, and what, if anything, the community or other agencies can be doing to alleviate some of the pressure this puts on principals and teachers, would be helpful.
Kim, then Anita.
Yeah, I wanted to know whether or not we could discuss the alternative meal of just fruits, vegetables, and water, because I don't know, back in the day, they did offer some type of alternative sandwich or, outside of, I've never heard of this, just fruits, vegetables, and water. And is there any way, could food banks, be able to offer, assistance in those kind of meals to I don't know if there's some type of collaboration we could have, for students for us to have those alternative meals that are free. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to offer up as a solution.
We appreciate that. And the discussion, and this again goes back 10 years when this plan was initially approved by the board, and the board did take a vote on this. And some of you that were on the board then may remember that. But I think part of the reason was it would be less obvious who was receiving an alternate meal if they received what was being served on the line that day. So that's the reason it's the fruit and vegetables that are being served, and not some cheese toast or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It just made it less obvious.
And also to the other question, you can't bring outside food. The federal government has all kinds of regulations about what can and can't be used and served in the cafeteria. So you would not be able to access other sources of food.
But charter schools definitely can.
They don't necessarily follow the FDA rules and use their food.
Exactly. The final question, can community members, pay directly to the schools? And
Yes.
how would they do that?
So there are schools that have, I'll just call them the angel funds or happy funds or sunshine funds or things like that that they use where people have made donations to the school and asked them to use it for students who either forgot their lunch money or, for whatever reason. So people certainly are able to do that. If they want to use it to pay off student balances, though, they can send it to us, but specify if there's a school that they want us to use that specifically for. For a school to do that, it's almost like they have to do it on the day the student's going through the lunch line to know who needs it. But we can tell from our level the students who have a charged balance each day or at any point during the year. So we can apply those dollars to students who have charged balance at specific schools if somebody would like to make a donation for that reason.
Okay, so how would somebody really know? Oh, sorry. How would someone really know about that? Because, our school website is not the greatest. And even knowing that I could even do something like that. So I think that that's something that needs to happen so that the community can know how to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Anita?
You said something that I didn't quite catch, Angie, about reduced price meals. What was the statement?
So for 22-23, the state budget includes some non-recurring funds to cover the cost to a student for the reduced price meal. So if a student qualifies for a reduced price meal, I think the cost to them is 40 cents for lunch. So the state's got one-time funding to cover that 40 cents for the student.
You might want to explain that there are two levels under the free and reduced lunch meals. There's the reduced meal and then there's free meal.
Right. I understand there's a reduced meal and a free meal. What I didn't catch was what you just said, that the reduced price meal can be paid for
The
by
state,
the
yeah, the state's going to pay for that. It's non-recurring funds
Just
for
this
22,
year.
for 23, yes.
So this year, there's no such thing as reduced price meal.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the money will be coming to us from the state and not USDA.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you. I'm a bit concerned because the majority of my schools are in the high COVID areas and also in the food desert areas. So giving a student a vegetable, a fruit, and I forgot the other thing.
Water and bread.
And bread. Well, I know bread is fulfilling. I understand that. But I would hope that they used to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that's definitely fulfilling. But to get that little amount of food and going home and not receiving a nutritious meal is concerning to me.
Right.
And I do understand we have guidelines, but is there anything else that can be done about that, not only with schools in District 7, but in all the schools, as far as getting another type of alternative meal plan?
So that's something we can certainly research and come back to you with. We've got a new executive director. Mr. Fisher's doing a tremendous job in our school nutrition program. And again, these are a plan that was approved in 2012, so we certainly can look at updating it to determine if there's something different that we can do. Starting January, again, we're not going to do anything until January. We want to give everybody plenty of time to complete their applications and just get back into the routine of having to pay for their school lunches if they're in full pay status.
And the last question is it possible we can get a amount of our schools, what is owed, I guess in December?
Sure, yeah, we'll be able to report by school what the charge balances are. It's also important to note, and I don't know that I put it in the PowerPoint, so I apologize for that any balances that are due at the end of the fiscal year, so June 30th, the local fund is required to reimburse the school nutrition fund for that. amount. So those charges will be cleared at the end of the fiscal year somehow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, and then Anita.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how does it work when somebody who pays for lunch regularly, where do those funds go? And we could not use them to cover that particular school from all the funds that are generated from the students that are paying for lunch. And the other thing I would like to know, could you get back to us about what level of advocacy that we would need on the federal level when we create our, advocacy agenda?
Certainly. So the funds that are we collect from students who pay for their meals, those funds are used to cover the cost, the food cost, the labor cost, all the overhead cost of serving those meals. There's a cost calculator that we used to have to use. I don't know that we still have to use anymore for USDA to determine how much we are required to charge for a meal, so that we're not using federal reimbursements for free students to subsidize the cost of meals for paying students. So we have to do the calculation to show that the cost, that we're collecting the cost of the meal from the paying students. So that's where the dollars go that we collect.
And then where do they go from us? What do we use them for?
To buy the food, to pay the people, pay
That's
the overhead.
A freestanding fund, and the funds in that, what's called an enterprise fund, can't be used for anything but that enterprise.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Anita, then Diane.
One of the things that I'm asked repeatedly is, once food is placed on a child's tray, let's say an apple, and they don't eat it, it's thrown away. What can we do about that? Or a wrapped muffin. I'm not saying food that the child can actually touch the food, but we throw away a great deal of food. And what can we do to not throw that food away and thereby have food for those who don't have it?
So there are very strict public health regulations that require that. I would think it would go back to legislative advocacy if you wanted to do something different. We can't. There are inspectors that come into our buildings. They check for that. So there's nothing that we can do outside of those regulations. So again, I think it would take advocacy to change the rules from our level, not at the school cafeteria level.
But we do have a program.
I understand it, but most folks do not. You're talking about a whole apple that nobody's, or a muffin that's wrapped, or a sandwich that's sealed.
We may have programs for unserved food, but once the food is on a student's tray.
Well, it'd be good to give the board a report on the Snack Wrap program, and I know during COVID it got stalled, but there is a program called Snack Wrap that Laura Oxner and Jennifer Fountain, an attorney in town, started. Had two parts. One had to do with uncooked or unserved food that went to churches. That got shut down by the state health department, but refrigerators are provided to schools that are interested, and then they do have it's exactly what you're talking about, where kids can take milk, apples, fruit with peeling, wrapped items like a muffin, and it goes in the refrigerator, and the refrigerator is in a central location where students can access it whenever they want. Like they could go at the end of the day and take food home. So it would be helpful maybe to just, in a superintendent's report, it's in many of our schools.
And it's legal?
Yes, yeah, and they've worked on, now, I know during COVID when schools were shut, but I think Laura said they were putting a refrigerator in another school. So it might be helpful to provide some data. How many schools have that? I know the Weaver Foundation has bought thousands of dollars of refrigerators for schools. So it's along the lines of exactly what you've described, Anita, within the bounds of the rules. Again, there was a program that they were working on as well based on a national program called Rock and Wrap It Up, where you take food that's actually not been yet served, like a tray of lasagna, and it would go to like urban ministry or to a church. They can't do that anymore. The state health department put the big nix on that. But I think, so that would be helpful to provide data back. And there may be ways we could expand that as the need becomes higher. So.
Thank you, Diane.
Okay, I want this to be taken in the spirit that it's meant. I just went to our website and I was looking for a place where if I wanted to donate, and I can't find anything, a link or whatever for donations, regardless of what it is. And I think, if I was going to send out I push out stuff on my communications to folk, they're not going to want to hunt through and try to figure it out. They want to know, okay, boom, I press this and I can do this. And so if that does exist on the website, somebody needs to show me where it is because I can't find it. And I put menu and all of that. All I'm saying is let's help ourselves out here. If you got people out there who want to donate, whether it's by school, we can say, go to, call the school or something like that. And if they call the school, then they need to understand what the procedure is. They don't want to call and this school goes, what? Donate? I don't know. You don't want that. You want, them to know either they go to the treasurer or whomever it is, and it'll get handled. The other question would be, can this be tax deductible? Are we considered a tax deductible?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So that would help. But I can't find it on the website where I could go easily and make a donation if I wanted to. So could we figure out how to make that work? Okay, thank you.
All right, is there any more questions? Thank you, Ms. Henry and Dr. Oakley, and we are now at the 2021-2022 Accountability Report Update.
Good evening. We will be discussing 21-22 accountability results. I will kind of set some context. Dr. Stevens, our Chief Performance Officer, will share the actual accountability report. Then we'll close it out and take questions. We're going to go fast. So we will begin with a review of our accountability results, but to do so, we have to examine the impacts that COVID-19 had on student learning. We've heard it, but it is true, and it's a big part of our current context. We will also provide updates to the state testing program, 21-22 graduation rates, accountability results themselves, a few district highlights, and finally, some ongoing challenges. We are proud of all the hard work of all of our principals, teachers, and staff, and are excited to share our results. There's no question that the COVID-19 pandemic impacted student learning across our nation. Our students and our teachers have been working nonstop to address learning loss, and today we will announce some learning gains while recognizing our work is not yet done. Through their own presentation at the state level, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction cautioned that the 21-22 test data must be considered within the context of all COVID disruptions. Although 2018-19 data is included in today's report, it is not intended to be used as a purpose of comparison of evaluating efforts or drawing conclusions. Our goal is not just to get to pre-pandemic academic levels, but to do better and ensure every child in this community is proficient in all key subject areas, including reading and math. As we report our learning gains and opportunities to grow, we want you to keep in mind where our students and teachers have gone over the last few years to get here. Severe staff shortages, quarantines of multiple days ranging from 5 to 15, taking time away from the classroom, rolling school closures, mental health challenges, and school violence concerns. I also want to remind us all that testing results are just one metric of student success. We must keep the whole child in mind and their hard work throughout the year. Last year was the first year since the pandemic hit. I don't know about you, but for me, it's blurry, right? The years don't have a solid start and end. They kind of blur together since the pandemic. And it was the first year we had in-person instruction the whole year. It was the same year we had Omicron in December and January. While we wish the transition from remote learning to in-person instruction were like turning a switch on and off, we know that was not our reality. There was a lot that happened during that period, and according to the CDC, nearly 175,000 children in our nation lost a parent or a caregiver during the pandemic. We also know, as early as today's news, that the state right now, yesterday, had a meeting to revisit the current state accountability model. North Carolina Child provides us with key indicators of child well-being to keep in mind as the 2022 accountability results are compared with other large districts in our state. These are interesting facts to note. Guilford County had a higher child poverty rate than the state of North Carolina, than Wake, Mecklenburg, and Durham counties. Food insecurity is higher in Guilford County than in the state of North Carolina, Wake, Mecklenburg, Forsyth, and Durham counties. Guilford County has a lower median family income than the state of North Carolina, Wake, Mecklenburg, and Durham counties. And we also have a lower percentage of residents with bachelor's degrees than Wake, Mecklenburg, and Durham counties. Recently, the New York Times reported on the devastating impacts of the pandemic on student learning, with declines spanning almost all races and all income levels, but were significantly worse among the students who struggle the most. Nationally, we had been making progress up until now. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, otherwise known as NAEP, the pandemic erased decades of academic progress. It's as if 9-year-olds were performing at the same level in math as 9-year-olds did in 1999, and at the same reading level as in 2004. Reading and math scores declined among all subgroups in the 2022 NAEP results, but decreases were most significant for Black and Hispanic students. Throughout this presentation, we will be reviewing changes in accountability scores in Guilford County schools from 2018-19, 2021, and 21-22. We are seeing results here in Guilford County that mirror national trends and remind us how drastically the pandemic affected student learning. What we have come to realize is that the pandemic redefined the way every school functions, challenging us to reimagine public education. The National Center for Education Statistics collected data from approximately 2,400 U.S. public schools and found that 72% of public schools reported that student chronic absenteeism and teacher absences have increased compared to prior school years. More than 3/4 of public schools reported that it is more difficult to get substitutes than it was before the pandemic. And nearly 3/4 of public schools are frequently relying on administrators, non-teaching staff, and teachers on their free periods to cover classes. Similar to other U.S. public school districts, Guilford County has seen an increase in the percentage of students who were chronically absent during the 21-22 school year at all school levels and by student groups compared to before the pandemic. The numerous COVID-19 variants caused unprecedented teacher absences last year, resulting in us having to utilize substitutes at a much higher rate than before the pandemic. We are also faced with the need to increase substitute teacher pay in order to attract the substitutes we needed, and did that in competition with our neighboring districts throughout the year. As a reminder, we have stayed the course of what the research has told us. Our learning recovery efforts are based on 3 principles: expanded learning time, high dosage tutoring, and acceleration, not remediation, making sure students have access to grade level content. We implemented a 5th quarter, which provides access to district-wide summer enrichment programs to address learning loss and additional time for students to catch up. Our summer programs were designed to encourage our students to explore new topics while at the same time preparing them to take advanced courses or enroll in a career and technical education program. More than 15,000 students participated in our 5th quarter enrichment programs during the summer of 2021, which led into the 21-22 school year that we're reporting on today. You've seen this, but it's important to remember, and we will continue. Guilford County Schools has made high dosage tutoring a priority, meeting students where they are. We've developed and sustained local and national partnerships with universities, including North Carolina A&T State University, the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, Brown University, and Harvard Center for Education and Policy Research to make sure our students have highly qualified tutors and continuing to strengthen our tutoring practices. In 2021-22, our students were tutored by more than 421 students for a total of more than 66,000 hours and more than 109,000 sessions, and we've already continued those efforts as we've moved into the beginning of this new school year. To overcome pandemic-related learning loss, we also launched and expanded our nationally acclaimed learning hubs. The more days students attended the learning hubs, the more their ELA and math scores improved on average. It also appears that learning hubs impacted our graduation rates. We will relaunch learning hubs this fall. 5,901 students attended at one of our comprehensive high schools last school year. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Stevens, who will share the 21-22 accountability report.
Thank you, Dr. Oakley, and I'll try to go fast as well. As was mentioned earlier, the disruption caused by the pandemic had an impact on student learning during the 21-22 school year. National research suggests it will take several years for students to recover the learning loss experienced during the pandemic, even though there are some increases in student performance. The 21-22 school year is the first since 1819 to include all components of the state's accountability framework, including the calculation of school performance grades. School performance grades are weighted at 80% for achievement and 20% for growth. The weighting of the school performance grade is unbalanced, and GCS schools are affected more because of the concentrated poverty that continues to exist in Guilford County as compared to other counties in North Carolina. As Dr. Oakley stated, the state superintendent has convened a group to begin examining our state accountability model, which does include the school performance grades. Other testing updates that I will share with you include the return of EVOS school academic growth designations, which have not been provided since the 2018-19 school year. The UNC system increased the ACT composite minimum from 17 to 19 during the 21-22 school year. Beginning in the 2021 school year, the deadline for students to be included in the cohort graduation rate was extended from July 15th to August 6th. And finally, schools were held accountable for testing at least 95% of student groups for the first time since 2018-19. So today we're going to begin by sharing the 4-year cohort graduation rates. Guilford County Schools has a 4-year cohort graduation rate of 91.8, which is the highest in Guilford County's history. Our 4-year cohort graduation rate is higher than the state and all other large districts in North Carolina, including Wake and Mecklenburg counties. Additionally, the graduation rate gap between white and black students has narrowed by 3.2 percentage points over the past 10 years. GCS had 10 schools with a graduation rate of 100%, and 12 of our schools had graduation rates of 90% or higher. For most of the past 10 years, GCS has consistently had a higher graduation rate than the largest urban districts in North Carolina and the state. As I shared earlier, our Black and Hispanic student graduation rates increased for the 21-22 school year and are the highest that they've ever been. While it is still too early to fully measure the impact Learning Hubs had on students, preliminary analysis indicate students who attended Learning Hubs during 21-22 graduated at a higher rate than those who did not attend Learning Hubs. We are continuing with strategies for increasing graduation rates, and some of those include the implementation of Learning Hubs, which provided meals, transportation, and flexible schedules in all comprehensive high schools for students who had taken jobs or were caring for their younger siblings. Our student attendance recovery efforts included principals, school counselors, social workers, interpreters, and teachers canvassing neighborhoods to recover students who were not attending schools. A 5th quarter was offered beyond the traditional school year for students who were failing the course, giving them the opportunity to improve to a passing grade in order to meet graduation requirements. And finally, we hired more counselors for schools with the largest declines in graduation rates to recruit students for summer learning opportunities. Now I'm going to shift focus to early literacy. DIBELS, which stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, is not a part of the state's accountability model, but DPI requires it to be administered to students in grades K-3, and it is an indicator of later learning outcomes. In reviewing the results, we noticed that in 21-22, students came to school less ready or less prepared than ever before as a result of the pandemic. Nearly 60% of our students across student groups came without early literacy skills. However, those numbers were reversed by the end of the year. More students tested at or above benchmark, and every student group had double-digit percentage point increases in reading proficiency when we compared the beginning of the year results to the end of year results. Next, we will look at the results for the performance composite. As a reminder, the performance composite is the percent proficient on all tests and grade levels combined. Performance composite celebrations include increased proficiency for all student groups compared to 2021. Additionally, 102 schools increased their performance composites compared to the 2021 school year. This included 59 elementary schools, 19 middle schools, 21 high schools, and 3 alternative schools. And finally, 20 schools had a 21-22 performance composite that were at or above the pre-COVID levels in 18-19. When looking closer at the performance composite trends, we noticed that the 18-19 school year provides a reference point for where students' proficiency levels were before the pandemic. The 2021 data reinforces the challenges caused by the pandemic and are the results of a full year of learning that was disrupted. And finally, the 21-22 results demonstrate the progress students have made towards beginning to return to pre-pandemic levels of proficiency. This table shows that the 21-22 performance composites for GCS improved overall, and each grade span improved when compared to the 2021 school year. But each grade span is still below pre-pandemic performance composites. That's a tongue twister. Additionally, the GCS 21-22 performance composites are similar to the state's rate, as well as other large districts in North Carolina. What we notice here is that none of the large districts in North Carolina have recovered from the disruption of student learning caused by the pandemic. Next, I'll share with you the EOG results. Like the performance composites, when examining our EOG results, we had some areas to celebrate. We saw increased proficiencies across grades 3 through 8 in reading, overall and by individual student groups, with the exception of grade 3, which had a small decline. Additionally, 65 schools increased reading proficiency on the EOG compared to the 2021 school year. This included 51 elementary schools and 14 middle schools. Reading proficiency for grades 4 through 8 increased for every student group and at all grade levels. We saw a slight decline with grade 3 reading, but keep in mind these third grade students were most affected, or one of the most grade levels that were affected by the pandemic. If you recall, they spent part of their first grade year in 1920 learning remotely, and half of the second grade year was also remote before transitioning back to in-person learning in 2021. They finally had a full year of in-person learning this past school year. I'm talking about the third grade students. And we're going to continue to track the progress of this cohort of students to see how they are recovering. We are also excited to celebrate our EOG and EOC math results because when compared to the 2021 school year, the math proficiency at grades 3 through 8 increased for each student group and at every grade level. Additionally, there were 20 middle schools with increases in proficiency on the 8th grade math EOG and 24 middle schools with increased proficiency on the 8th grade math 1 EOC. Our math recovery efforts are beginning to show positive changes. In fact, when compared to the state and other large districts, we are recovering at a faster rate in math, grades 3 through 8, for all students and by student group. Now, when you're reading this graph, the shorter line is better than the longer line, and an indication of faster recovery because the goal is to get to 0. Here's the math proficiency by grade level and by student group, where you can see the gains in proficiency rates for every student group and grade level for 21-22. And for EOG Science, we also celebrate the increase in proficiency for 5th grade science overall and for student groups. Additionally, grade 8 science proficiency for English learners was higher in 21-22 than in previous years. Next up are the results from the EOC assessments. We are also excited about the increased proficiency for our end-of-course exams. Math 3 had the largest increase in proficiency for 21-22 compared to the other EOC assessments and is closest to reaching the pre-pandemic proficiency rate. In biology, specifically, we saw increases for all student groups in 21-22 compared to the 2021 school year. The 21-22 English 2 proficiency results showed slight increases with our EL, our white, Hispanic, and Asian student groups. One interesting note about last year's 10th grade English 2 students is that due to the pandemic, the last EOG reading assessment they took was during 7th grade. They're now in 11th grade. The proficiency on the high school Math 1 EOC more than doubled in 21-22 when compared to the 2021 for all racial groups and students with disabilities. As a reminder, Math 3 was added as a new EOC in 1819. The Math 3 proficiency was equal to or higher in 21-22 than in previous years for multiple student groups, including Black, white, and Asian students, English learners, and students with disabilities. Next, we will discuss the other performance indicators, which include the ACT proficiency for 11th graders, ACT work keys for CTE concentrators, and English language progress for our EL students. As I mentioned earlier, the UNC Board of Governors changed the minimum benchmark on the ACT from 17 to 19, beginning with the 21-22 school year. This minimum benchmark is a requirement for students to be admitted to any of the 16 universities in the UNC system. For 21-22, 38% of GCS 11th grade students met the benchmark of 19 on the ACT. However, if the benchmark had not changed, 48.9% of our 11th grade students would have met the previous benchmark of 17. Remember, this cohort of students is the cohort that finished their freshman year remotely, and most didn't return until the second half of their sophomore year. Last year, they finished their first year of in-person instruction in high school. So they finished their first year last year. We still do not have our complete work keys data set from the state. However, all 12th grade CTE concentrators take the ACT Work Keys assessment in an effort to earn the ACT Work Keys National Career Readiness Certificate, which is an assessment-based credential issued at 4 levels: platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. This credential measures and certifies the essential work skills needed for success in jobs across industries and occupations. On the ACT Work Keys assessment, 55% of GCS's 12th grade CTE concentrators scored at the silver or higher level, which is based on their performance on 3 assessments that include applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents. English language proficiency is determined by the percent of EL students who meet the progress criteria on their final access test and exited the EL cohort. Remember, the EL student group is one of the groups that fell furthest behind during the pandemic. Now on to academic growth. As a reminder, this is the first time since 2018-19 that overall school academic growth has been provided. Academic growth is an indication of the progress that students in the school made over the previous year. Because 2021-22 is the first year since 18-19 that we have received school growth designations, we consider it a new baseline for academic growth. The standard is roughly equivalent to a year's worth of expected growth for a year of instruction students experienced during a typical school year, and we know they haven't had a typical school year. Growth is reported for each school as exceeds, meets, or does not meet growth expectations, and is reported in EVOS, the value-added tool adopted by North Carolina. School performance grades. Most of the data I have shared as a part of this presentation are included as components of the school performance grade calculations. The indicators used for school performance grades are provided in this table. Note that elementary and middle schools have a different set of indicators than high schools. In addition to the test results, academic growth, and EL progress, high schools have additional indicators which include four-year cohort graduation rates, the percent of 11th graders scoring 19 or higher on the ACT Work Keys assessment, and the successful completion of high-level math courses. When asked why the state accountability model needs to change in an EdNC article released this morning, State Superintendent Truitt said, "Our current model is not an accurate reflection of school quality." On September 1st, in her accountability press release, State Superintendent Truitt shared her thoughts about school performance grades and how the state's current 80-20 formula, as a reminder, is 80% performance and 20% growth, has been in place since 2013-14 and should be reevaluated. Superintendent Truitt stated, "Last year's school performance grades must be viewed within the context of the pandemic and its impact on learning and performance." Superintendent Truitt goes on to say, because of the pandemic, the 80-20 formula caused more school grades to slip, and the current model does not do justice to the hard work that teachers and students put in every day in schools across the state. Similarly, during the same September 1st press release, it was reported that the number of North Carolina schools identified as low performing also increased in 21-22. Low performing schools are those that receive a school performance grade of D or F and a school academic growth score of met expected growth or did not meet expected growth. According to NCDPI, in 21-22, 864 North Carolina schools were identified as low performing, an increase from 488 schools in 2018-19. To avoid a low performing designation, schools must earn a school performance grade of C or better or exceed expected growth. Additionally, the number of low performing districts in North Carolina increased from 8 in 2018-19 to 29 in 21-22. Low performing districts are districts where the majority of schools received a school performance grade and have been identified as low performing. This year, GCS was identified as a low performing district. This is because 50.9% of GCS schools were designated as low performing, or 59 out of 116. There were 11 schools that were not included in the denominator due to insufficient data or having an alternative school status. We talked about this previously, and this is the breakdown of our school performance grades. So I'm going to now turn it back over to Dr. Oakley.
Thank you. I know that was a lot of information, so I'm just going to quickly summarize highlights and some ongoing challenges. The percent of students at or above benchmark on early literacy assessments increased from the beginning of the year to the end of the year for all grades and all student groups. Every student group had double-digit increases in early literacy proficiency from the beginning to the end of the year. 102 schools increased performance composites compared to 2021. 20 schools reached composites that were at or above the pre-COVID levels from 2018-19. Our EOG math, reading, and science grade 5 proficiencies increased for almost every subgroup and every grade level, and all of our end-of-course assessments had increased proficiencies with the exception of English 2. We have the highest graduation rate in GCS history at 91.8%, including our Black and Hispanic students who have the highest graduation rate in GCS history. We also have the higher graduation rate than the state and the other large districts in North Carolina. This does not mean we aren't facing big challenges. Racial gaps continue to be the biggest race continues to be the biggest predictor of student outcomes, even when we control for poverty and other measures. We know that COVID-19 disproportionately impacted low-income students and students of color. We know that chronic absenteeism continues to be an issue and that we're facing mental health challenges. School safety impacts student performance and student attendance, transportation challenges, and concentrated poverty across our community. So again, the 21-22 results contain many reasons to celebrate the hard work of our students, but the district is still faced with these ongoing challenges. We also want to make sure that when students graduate, they're ready to enter the workforce. They're not taking remedial classes, that they're ready to step in, whether they're entrepreneurs or enlisting or enrolling or entering the workforce, and they need to have the tools to be successful. And I think that'll be a part of our continued work as we move forward. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you have.
Diane?
Okay, on page 16, you talk about the hubs. And I remember in one of our previous meetings, we were talking about how to get the students to come. Have we kind of reassessed how we're going to do outreach to make sure that more students take advantage of that? Do you remember when we had a conversation? Okay.
I do remember, and we did some mailers and some phone calls, but I think what mattered was like getting to community centers to let people know that it was happening. We even talked about, I remember in that conversation, having learning hubs in communities, like where they're more accessible and not necessarily at the school site. So that will continue as we relaunch. I think we have some community partners that are willing to team up with us on that, and so that outreach did happen. We also have we're rolling out the mini buses, which are 14-passenger vehicles that we can use to transport students to and from. That was part of our ESSER spending to make sure that kids have more access. We still are facing bus driver shortages, so we can't do it all the time at every school, but those are some of the things we've done in the meantime.
Can we also kind of make sure that the kids know they can use public transportation to get to some of these hubs if possible?
Sure. I mean, it's obviously easier at some schools than in some of our more rural areas.
Okay, on page 18, do we have the data that actually shows who is in those concentrated poverty areas? Do we know, like, which group? Because I think, sometimes the assumption is that all of the poor people are Black, and that's not true. And so, I just want, so I want, in our school system, which is a diverse school system, do we have data that shows which of the, what do you call it, subgroups or?
The student groups?
Yeah, the racial.
Sure. So we do, we are able to provide some data on where the concentrated poverty is within the county. But keeping in mind that our census tract data, we know that not everybody completed that census tract. So that data isn't as accurate as we would like for it to be, but we do have some information that we can share.
But we don't have access to student level free and reduced lunch information.
Okay, all right. I just feel like that if we understood who is impacted by the concentrated poverty, then it's not on us, but it's on the greater community to figure out what do we do, can we do anything, whether it's accessibility to jobs. I mean, this is our chair's area, not mine, but do you understand what I'm asking? Because you keep saying that poverty impacts on school outcomes for our kids. And we've been saying that for a long time, but why do we keep saying that if we aren't gonna do anything about it? I understand we try to do what we can, but it's not all on us. It's some other people or other systems that have to buy into how we help children do better. Is that not correct? Okay. Y'all keep shaking your head. Say something. Okay. On page 24. Do we know when these students are graduating? I mean, we say we have the highest graduation rate ever, but do we know what's happening to these kids when they graduate? I mean, are they just graduating with the minimum, what is it, 2.0 or 2.5? Or are they actually graduating and doing something? Or just going home?
Do you mean what they're pursuing? So we follow the state graduation requirements, which I think is something they're also taking a look at, right? So like, what does it mean to be ready to do that? There's been a lot of talk lately across sectors about the portrait of a graduate. The only report that we have about what happens after kids leave is, it's called the, starts with C, Clearinghouse Report.
The National Clearinghouse data.
Mm-hmm. And it's very broad strokes. So it's not like it's more aggregate of this number of students entered college and left within a year, this percentage of students, but it doesn't say where or what they studied or was it, so it's, we don't have student level, we have trend aggregate level in the clearinghouse. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's your question.
Well, it's just that to be able to say, wow, we graduated 91.5 kids, but graduated them to what? If they graduate and only 30% of them go on to higher education, or if only 18% of them go into the workforce, then you understand what I'm asking?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening to the kids? Because what is our point here? We want to educate productive individuals, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I'm asking. On page 28, you said prior to the pandemic, and I think this is when Dr. Oakley was sitting where you're sitting, we were worried about the fact that something like 27% of kindergartners were coming not ready for kindergarten. How does that impact on what your data is saying today, or is this in addition to, or did that number get bigger? Do you understand my question?
Yes, I do understand your question. And this data, kindergartners are included, but we have the individual kindergarten numbers to look to see if that number has increased or not in terms of how they were performing on the beginning of year assessment in comparison to end of year.
Okay. So did the number of kindergartners who were ready get larger with this group? No,
every grade level is coming farther. I mean, kindergartners in particular coming to school less ready than they have in years past. And you're right, it used to be around 25 to 30, and that's grown over time. We can provide the grade level breakdown. This is the combined K1, 2, 3, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then on page 31, is what you're saying here is actually that virtual learning hurt us, didn't help us, or, I mean, I know that having in-person, a teacher in the classroom, obviously from some of the stuff you presented, has a greater impact on student learning. Is that correct? You understand my question?
I don't understand.
Okay, what I'm asking here is that based on what you're saying here on page 31, did virtual learning hurt us?
So I don't know that we've done a full analysis around performance composite, but every student group at every grade level on every test went backwards during virtual learning. There's not one group of kids who excelled or went above during that period of time.
Okay, so it hurt us.
Correct.
Okay, that was a simple yes. Okay, and then on page 39, and then I have one more. Oh. Can you explain the why? Why did we see the improvement?
For the English learners, for the
For
fifth
math?
graders.
No, this is math. I'm on page 39. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, 38 then. I mean, I think you said that you saw improvement in every group in math. Is that correct? Can you explain the why?
So we haven't done a full evaluation, which is what the researcher would say. Like, you wouldn't just blanket guess a why. But there's a couple things we know. We know that in particular in middle school, we paid very close attention to math instruction and gave teachers support. Like, we had a very targeted focus. And if you remember when we launched tutoring, we started in secondary math. So I think this intentional focus, both with professional learning, teacher feedback, starting tutoring there specifically, because if you remember last year's presentation, we fell farthest behind in math. But the nature of the subject could also lend itself. Like, if you think about filling in a skill gap in math, it's a little more tangible than in reading, to identify what's missing. What did I miss about fractions to not be able to do ratios? Like, it's a little bit less abstract, I think, than reading. It's just by nature of the subject. But I don't know that we haven't done an evaluation to say that any of those things are true. Those are just a hypothesis from what we've looked at so far.
Okay. Well, I mean, to support, like, when, I don't know if it was you or if it was your predecessor, I think it was you, when y'all were asking us to fund a specific program for encouraging math teachers, wasn't it at UNCG?
That's the Math Teachers of Tomorrow, to build a pipeline of highly effective math teachers. Yes, and that was just this past school year.
I understand. I'm just saying that there are things, there's logic, there's sense to your logic of things that you're doing. So that's why I'm asking the why, okay? And then my last question is for page 48, and it's just do employers use this information?
I don't know where Dr. Chillis is.
Well,
do employers use the ACT work? Please come to the podium if you're going to respond. Also, remember that in terms of college entry, different college admission, like there were years, somewhere during COVID, it was, we're not looking at ACT, we're not looking at SAT, we want you, they've also wavered on the entry, but Dr. Chillis can speak more to the workforce.
So yes, it is used and employers do look at it, but there's more emphasis on the industry recognized credentials that are content specific based on those specializations and pathways.
Okay, and this is probably not at our level, but do these work keys mirror what the employers are looking for?
Every industry is different, has different specializations. This is looking at math skills, reading skills, just basic foundational skills, not specializations.
Okay, but don't they need math skills, reading skills?
They do.
Because I keep getting the wrong change at McDonald's, so I'm just saying. I just want to know the worth of this in connection to what we want in the workforce. If it makes sense, there's no point in testing these things if they don't connect with what is needed in the workforce, is there?
I think that's part of what the state's looking at, too.
Right.
That's why I said this is probably above our level, but I still ask the question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim, then Linda.
I appreciate receiving all of this, information and data. But I'm just looking for an opportunity when our children are more than a score, when they're not evaluated alone just by English and math, right? Because they want us to develop whole students, right? So I'll be happy when there's a day when we can actually move away from this type of assessment and being judged by the work that we do with only English and math, when there are a whole other level of teachers that impact student learning in our schools. I want to know about the schools specifically that are not on the 4-year cohort graduation rates. Like I said, this data is good, but for me, I would love to know about the schools that I serve a little bit more and understanding those particular schools instead of just this broad sense of data that's just district data. I just feel like I just need to know a little bit more specifically. Is that okay?
So I think, yeah, I think probably the best first look at that is the school improvement plans, because they take they frame goals around where they, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit more school specific and tangible, and not this broad stroke district level data.
Right. But that data primarily is found on the DPI website. Am I correct?
Well, and then each school has to post their school improvement plan on their school website.
Okay, so I have to go to each one of the schools. Clarifying, like I said, this is a lot of data, and we started out with NAEP, and then we went to EOGs, and then we went to EOCs, and making that information like really relatable on the parent level, I think is also very important. And understanding what is it really saying about my child and my student, right? Because we say parent engagement actually helps students, perform better in school. So when we're getting a lot of this data at the school level or not getting this data at the school level, I think we're missing out on an opportunity to help parents to help their own children. So I don't know how this data actually relates to a parent specifically. What are you saying about my child? What does it really say about my particular child, so that I can, possibly, get the resources that I need for my individual student. So I just want to know, how does it relate on the school level back to the family?
Well, schools receive their own individual results, and then parents also receive an individual student report that explains what level their child tested at on the EOG and the EOC, and whether they were proficient or grade level proficient or not. So we do provide, or DPI does provide, those results that go directly to home to parents.
Right. So when I find out that my child is not on grade level, then who pushes into that?
Well, often that's when we say, will you please join us for a summer opportunity? Would you please come to fifth quarter? The other piece for the DIBELS is 3 times a year. So there's a beginning of year, middle of year, end of year assessment on early literacy skills K-3, and that generates a parent connect letter that's available in multiple languages and also used at student conferences. And so, the unfortunate part about most of this data is that it's summative in nature. Yeah. And when we get the scores, we're on to the next academic year. But I would say that the follow-up conversation of, based on this information, we think you're a great candidate to join us for a summer learning experience. We want to make sure that we start the year with tutoring because of your Math 1 score. Those are the kind of qualitative things that happen. But I will say that most of this data, we're presenting it at September 13th, and they took this test June 3rd. And so what you can do with it in that moment also depends on when you get the final. They get the preliminary score, but that year, your 5th grade teacher can't do much with your 5th grade math and reading score.
Right, and I think that's important for even parents to really understand, and the community to understand, that it's just, like you said, a little bit too late. So I'm hoping that we could, take this data, and as we develop a new strategic plan and what we want to see happen for the students in Guilford County. And I hope that we're going to have more than just, the learning hubs. I think that's one great idea. I'm just hoping that we can develop some other strategies, within our budget, of course, because we know the funding has an impact, right? And what we can do and what we're going to go to the county commissioners to ask for, because I know that teachers also need some kind of relief. You said in this report, people are doing double duty, people are absent. So then we just had, an employee that subs every now and then. She's thrown into the classroom. So we know that teachers are impacted, and the stress level. So those are some of the things we have to think about as well when we're deploying like all of the strategies that with trying to, improve education for the students in Guilford County. But again, I do appreciate the data, and I appreciate this booklet as well. It's very sophisticated. But we also have to remember that we must make everything relatable down to the lowest common denominator, and that's directly to the students and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, then Pat.
We are where we are, all right? So we've got the base, as far as I'm concerned. This is our base. Now, where are we going to go? Where are we going to challenge ourselves to go? So I'm hoping that we're going to get a report about where we're going to strive to be somewhere after you get settled in and all. Not expecting it right now. Key things that will help us to accelerate learning. Making sure we have the supplies, the consumables. I know with COVID, we have distribution issues. Do our teachers have what they need to do their job with the consumables and anything else? Because if they don't have their workbooks and they don't have, and I've heard a little bit about some missing, it's hard to teach what you don't have, all right? Can we stabilize our teacher pool? All right, what are we going to do? Are we going to do some surveys? Are we going to see what we can do? I hear rumor mills all the time that we're losing teachers here, and I'm saying rumor mills. You got that, right? You did hear me say that word. But I do know we're challenged to, and we have teachers leaving and coming and leaving. We've got to stabilize our teachers and make sure they want to be here, they're going to work, whatever's causing any of that change, because every time we lose a teacher, that impacts the classroom, okay? And then instructional hours. All right, I still have a problem with reducing instructional hours when we knew we had learning disability, because the only way to gain, or for students to gain, is having face-to-face learning. So I don't know that I can go back and fix that. But there again, I want not all children need to have every instructional hour at this time is valuable. And we need to make sure that we are utilizing our hours efficiently so that we are concentrated. It would be also good to try and find ways to engage students and make it fun. But those things, in my view, I also have still heard complaints about discipline and feeling supported. So, I'm all about let's get our teachers stabilized and have a good working environment, more instructional hours, or utilize our instructional hours as effectively as we can, and make sure that we have the resources, the consumables, and anything else that they need as a priority.
Pat and then Winston.
Thank you for putting this together. And I really like this format, by the way. It's very handy. So I hope it doesn't cost extra. But maybe we save money. On page 13, we've learned a lot about the high dosage tutoring, the learning hubs, and these are some of those tactics you reference. Could you talk a little bit, and maybe this is going to come later, but could you talk about what our objectives and the vision is for as we move through the balance of 22 and into 23? I mean, you referenced, and I think this is great data, 421 tutors and the hours and the number of students. Is there a goal to, are we trying to double that, or what's reasonable? If you can talk about that now, or.
I think the vision is to keep going until every student that needs a tutor gets a tutor. And the more flexible options we can provide, that's what kids and teachers have told us is, even athletes, student athletes, I revisited a couple learning hubs, and there were all these kids in their uniforms because they said it's just easier to stay at school after practice and do my work while I'm here, eat dinner, and then go home. So, I think the vision is we also have to keep in mind that we've gotten some philanthropic funding, but a lot of these efforts are ESSER funded, or the recovery plan. So we've got to continue to advocate for funding for the things that are working to be sustainable. We can't let all of the good work sunset in 2024 when the funds are targeted to at this point. So I think expansion right now is the key. getting more highly trained tutors, getting more students more access to tutoring, and more flexible options, because that's what we've heard from our stakeholders.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about the tutors. I mean, where do they come from? How do we get them? I mean, there's so many, and I'm wondering, well, where, how are we, these angels that are among us, where are they coming from, and how do we get more?
I mean, it started small. It started in April, right after school closure. Dr. Contreras said, we need a core of tutors. Go make it happen. And so, I mean, that's why we started with just secondary math. And so we started with what we thought we could train and handle. And then we expanded to the graduate assistants, because what we learned is it's really hard to tutor high school math. Like, not everybody has that skill set. And then the high school kids that wanted to be tutors told us that middle school math was too long ago for them. They'd rather tutor their high school peers because they had just had the course. And so that added another layer of tutors. And then I would say during the second half of last year, we broadened the reach. We expanded the reach to include undergrad students and retirees who have credentials or who could tutor it, like a retired chemist could come in and tutoring. So we went beyond just our students and our university partners. But we have momentum now, and we have a structure. We've centralized it. So like we hire them, we train them, we pay them. Like it's its own entity that's come. But we're not going to be done tutoring when the ESSER funds expire. Like, I think it's got to be something that the whole nation thinks about as part of the regular public education program.
Yeah, and these are just follow-ups, so I've got a couple other questions, but the funding, so do we know, what's the dollar amount that was spent? And maybe we can get that later, but because I guess that's a number we're going to need to know if we want to continue to lever off of it. I mean, because once it's gone, then so.
Yeah, we paid $40 an hour. We budgeted $3.5 million for tutoring, and that's without the philanthropic additions that we've gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's helpful for the public too, and as we move ahead to know the math involved. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on. I've got a couple more pages. So the graduation rates, I know we talk a lot about this, and rightfully so. In page 25, and we've got, I think, to me, it's there's a study out there, and we're talking about poverty. That's a big piece of all this, the Brookings Institute. And they came out with a study, and it was 3 simple rules. I mean, part of this is we're teaching children, but we also want to teach them to make good decisions with their life, because and these 3 things are key, and they've been proven to keep people out of poverty. That is, 1, graduate from high school. So that's good. The other is to get a job. The other thing, and probably maybe the more challenging, is for children, teenagers, to not have a child before they're 21 years of age and to be married. And so there are things that, if we want to attack these social ills, and rightfully so, I mean, and I don't know how again, that's part of educating children is building the whole child. There's a lot to it. And so I cite that study, and it actually follows up with that. I don't know the sample size, and we can get into that at another time. But those that followed those 3 simple rules, only 2% were in poverty. And so it's about joining the middle class. It's about being able to have a job and raise a family. So graduating from high school is very important. Getting a college degree is very important too. But this study focuses on 3 things. It's graduating from high school, getting a job, and not having children before you're 21. So again, we can talk about that at another, maybe a work session. And that's just an observation, because I know we see Guilford County in the levels of poverty. And there's actually a world poverty clock that you can actually follow. I read an article just the other day about where the poor will live in 2030. And it's pretty alarming. These fragile states, a state is a country, and you can look and see where extreme poverty is. And fortunately, the United States is not in extreme poverty, but there are lots of very, very countries on the precipice of extreme poverty, and it has an effect worldwide. So I'll move on. On page 28, I'm just blown away. How can anybody explain this incredible double-digit increase in K through 3 literacy?
Curriculum and teacher coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think the board's investment in high-quality instructional materials and coaching for teachers, not pulling them out of their classroom, but shoulder to shoulder, side by side. I mean, and also if they're coming with fewer skills, you got a long way to go. You know what I mean? Sure. Like they're coming in farther behind. Yeah. So these are things just for reference, like kindergarten is letter naming fluency. How quickly can you name the letters? In first grades, it's things like what are the sounds that M, S, T, and V make? Like it's those pre-literacy skills that kind of set the track. There is a correlation with end of grade outcomes. It's not 100% correlation, but this is because teachers are doing a really good job, and we're going to continue to invest in them, and we're going to need to continue to invest in instructional materials.
Did they still do sight words? Is that still part of the? Or is that
that's
like,
a whole
that's
nother. Or do they follow a regular vowel pattern?
Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. Well, anyway, I just.
They know more than you do.
Yeah.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Stina.
But I mean, yeah, that's sight words. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably have some follow-up questions, later on, but just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that, and primarily just really, I think there's some great tools and tactics laid out, and certainly, I think if we want to have more tactics, that's fine, but I'm a little cautious about let's do these 100 different things to try to move the needle when you really have some empirical evidence that shows you how we can move the needle for children. And I'm not a big fan of having a whole lot of stuff, but let's have a few really good things. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Winston, then Anita.
I did come to the media briefing when y'all got the data that day, and so I've had, I don't know, that's a week and a half ago or so, maybe. I've had some time to reflect on it since then, and I was struck by several things then and have been today, and even some of the comments. The investments that the district made years ago, 3 to 5, even 7 years ago, as I recall, sitting in the cheap seats watching the conversation. We didn't have common reading curriculum across the district at all. Principals had a lot of autonomy about what curriculum they wanted to use in their schools. And there was a start of that movement, as I recall, under Superintendent Green, that then really escalated with Superintendent Contreras, and as Whitney worked with her in the academic office, in terms of how do we invest in curriculum that is common across all schools. We have a lot of mobility in this district. Kids move from school to school, and it wasn't okay to be at Moorhead and then be over at Faust, and there's different reading curriculum and different pacing. And so I think often the decisions we make sitting here, and that the board will continue to make after I'm gone in December, we don't see the results of those immediately. But sometimes we get caught in these dialogues about this immediate thing happening, especially behind the scenes. And I find this data really helpful, and the analysis that you all then do to try and show the causal links, right? So we're not just making it up, but that these investments in curriculum, investments in math, despite pushback on both of those from teachers, from principals, from parents, that we stood firm, that we did shift money out of certain buckets and into professional development and made sacrifices that said we have to pour into teachers and we have to have this coaching in the classroom. Don't just show up at a workshop. I mean, I've talked to teachers who talk about this shoulder-to-shoulder coaching being critical. And so I hope we will find that there's causal evidence that our having done that has allowed us to have lower learning loss and some greater growth than districts who experimented with other things or didn't do that. I think what I heard you say about tutoring, Whitney, that struck me in the media briefing is, we all know tutoring matters, has to be this high quality tutoring. I mean, I can't tutor somebody in math or reading. I can read to a kid. I can't teach them to read. I can go to Khan Academy and find resources to help a kid find somebody who can tutor them in math, but I can't tutor them in math. So this trained tutoring is such high value. But you also said every kid responded to this learning loss differently, right? They experienced it differently. So one missed this part of fractions and one missed this part of ratios and another missed this. And the reason tutoring matters is because, Kim, what you're talking about, you find out exactly what this child missed and you address what this child missed. And the only way you can do that is with human beings or, some form of AI we don't have yet. And so this need to ramp up tutoring and think differently about how we will recruit, how we will sustain. It is personalized learning, and not just personalized learning that's happening on a device. It's happening with a human being who's identifying what you're missing and then bringing a skill to move you forward. And we're just going to have to grapple with that as a community, again, through advocacy at the state or federal level, through changing how we budget, changing how we think about tutors. They're not mentors, they're not friends. I mean, they can be, but they are skilled technicians who know how to move someone, right? And so I really applaud that we didn't know how to do it, and we started small, and we went to our colleges and universities, and we did lots of different things, and that we're seeing where that pays off. So I hope we'll take that really seriously. I also am struck always in this data. It's just one data set. I mean, it's a lot of data, but it doesn't tell us all of the things about our district. And I'm always struck by it for high schools in particular, say with letter grades, where maybe, I don't know, a high school principal could probably tell me, it can't even be 20% of the teachers in the building teach courses that are in the performance composites. So 80% of the teachers in the building, their outcomes aren't even reflected in this data. So if a high school has a D or a C, it doesn't tell you anything about the quality of that high school, about the teaching and learning that's happening in Latin and in music and in marine biology and statistics and psychology and French and Spanish and all of the courses that are being taught in history, in social studies. And so we really need to take it as a piece of data that matters and help the public understand that there's so much in the building going on that's just not in the score. And the folks who are using those scores for political leverage are doing that on purpose to try and defund schools. And so we just really need to be conscious about that. I take seriously how kids are doing on Math 1 and in English, and I'm not minimizing the importance of moving kids, but I also take seriously how they're doing in all those other subjects and all the work that those teachers and educators are doing. So that I'm always struck by that in this data. And I guess I would be interested in seeing what do we know about our graduates? So at some point in the future, because we've pushed for this graduation rate, I'm proud of it. I think principals and teachers are finding kids and helping them get credit recovery, and they're not lying and cheating. There's only one way to graduate, you said in the media briefing. That's to meet the state requirements. And then it's illegal not to graduate them if they meet the state requirements, whether you think they're employable or not. The state says they did this. It is our legal obligation to graduate them. But what do we know about our graduates? What's their GPA? What was their attendance rates in groups? What other certificates did they get? How many of them had to do credit recovery in the last year to catch up? I think it could tell us something because we keep inching up with this graduation rate, but we also know there's kids who aren't as prepared as we want them to be. And so that could be, I think at some point in the future, I don't know all the questions to ask, but I want to know, what do we know about our graduates besides just that 4-year cohort rate? So I really appreciate all the work y'all do to present the data. I do want to applaud the board and the leadership over the years who've invested in tutoring, who've invested in coaching, even against blowback. I can remember there were folks who didn't support the Walmart grant that went for tutoring. There are folks who think the federal money is all being wasted. We should have spent it all on teacher bonuses. I want teachers to make money, but we had to make choices, and investing it in tutoring programs is producing outcomes for us. We have to make these hard choices. So we'll continue to have to do that as a community, and certainly the board will and leadership. So thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Anita.
In here are the 10th grade reading scores. Help me find the 10th grade reading scores.
English 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the EOC slide.
Which is,
What number? 43?
43.
the reason I asked for that is because in my travels around this county, that is one statistic that is quoted to me a lot. Look at the 10th grade reading scores. If they can't pass 10th grade reading, how are they graduating? What can they do? And this ties into what Winston was saying. What can they do? If they can't pass 10th grade reading test, how are they graduating? That's a different, that merits some discussion, but that was not my real question. I just follow up with Winston. We talk a lot about ready for kindergarten. Do we publish a list of what a ready for kindergarten student can do? Do our parents know what their child should be able to do to be ready for kindergarten? Do we ever tell them that your child should know colors, letters, a few sight words? I mean, do we do that? Do we help the parents help them get ready? Just asking.
So I mean, what I do know is we used to have this parent's guide to know by grade level. What typically happens is that kindergarten orientation in March, like when kindergartners come for the first time, there's these handouts. They'll sit at the table and sort the teddy bears, and then they'll use the counters. And then they get the checklist, like the beginning of year, here's what we're going to look at for kindergarten students. In addition to those efforts, I think that we probably could and should do more to Miss Bellamy Small's point earlier. Like, we have to get to people to make sure that not everybody comes to orientation in March. Some come in September for kindergarten. So, I mean, I think those two things do happen pretty regularly across schools, but I think there's always an opportunity to increase that.
A little brochure, 20 things your child should do to be ready for kindergarten. Just a thought. On page 35, you talked about tracking the cohorts. Tell me, I have a theory on this. Tell me how we track a cohort.
So we would follow students. We take a group of students. So in this case, I was mentioning our third grade students and follow them as they matriculate through the grade level. So we would assume that students, and we can tell if students were in third grade in 2021, did those kids advance to fourth grade in 22, 23, and so on.
And how are they doing?
And how are they doing? Yes.
Okay. I was hoping that's what you were going to say, because we used to compare last year's third graders to this year's third graders, and they're different kids. That doesn't get you anywhere. So tracking the cohorts the way you're doing it makes good sense.
Or we're going to start doing that. We haven't actually done an analysis just yet, but we want to begin tracking cohorts of students.
Okay, thank you.
Different kids.
This is comparing years.
This is looking at the progression of the same group of students.
No. This is doing what your theory was. This is different.
My theory is you should track the same group of students.
Correct.
Right, and that's what I was saying. We want to continue, or we will begin tracking the cohort of students so that we can see what their progress is.
This is what we get from the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted, as Diane was talking about concentrated poverty, I know it's a little complex that we have a lot of poor people across the country of all different backgrounds and demographics that are poor. And the data shows that we have more poor white people on public assistance in the United States, but the concentrated poverty is really different. And the data shows that when When a neighborhood or a geographic area, it could be a census tract or a neighborhood, like 2 miles away, we're in 27406 here. When a neighborhood poverty rate stays below 10%, there is no significant change in property values or rent, which also impacts the kind of retail that you're going to get, access to food, public safety, fewer environmental burdens. But when a neighborhood goes over 10%, there is a drastic change in property values, and the value of the home and the cost to buy or the cost to rent the home. So in 27406, a poverty rate is 42%. So that's like almost twice the rate of the state poverty rate. So concentrated poverty has more to do with who could live where decades ago. It also impacts generational poverty because kids who live in concentrated poverty are more likely to go to a Title I school where they have the least experienced teachers. I remember when Dr. Contreras gave one of the reports, and Dr. Oakley can say if we have that information now, but we had the least experienced teachers and the least effective teachers transferring into our most impacted schools. So then we're dealing with housing and all of the issues around housing, and then you're dealing with job deserts and health deserts and all that other stuff. And that compounding impact of concentrated poverty impacts generational poverty, because you can't just like a person can get out, but that group can't move. It's like quicksand. There's a book that Patrick Sharkey wrote called Stuck in Place around concentrated poverty, which has to do with where people could live decades ago. And I think we need to understand a whole lot more about that, because it's just not as simple as, Pat, I appreciate you bringing up that study, but it just makes no sense to me, because there were more poor people that made that made all the right decisions and are still poor. We have millions of people in poverty that graduated from college, not just went to high school. We have employees right here that we've heard at this podium that have a college degree, that are bus drivers, that are poor. We have employees on public assistance here. And so I don't want to make it seem that you can just make, like, one, poverty is not a choice, I don't believe. I believe people can be irresponsible and make poor choices and bad decisions, and that's across any socioeconomic category, period. But I don't believe that being poor is a choice, and I don't think that any parent wants that for their children. And so I just think it's, again, more complicated than that. And Linda, when you were saying we've got to stabilize our teaching force, well, when the school year started and I'm watching the news, and Mecklenburg has 400 vacancies and Durham and Wake have 200 vacancies and we have 29, and people are spreading rumors and giving misinformation that people are leaving in droves. And if we want our teachers to stay, we shouldn't accuse them of teaching pedophilia and racial indoctrination to students. We should vote for a budget with employee salaries and benefits, and we don't spread that misinformation. And we cannot address teacher pay with a board or a budget. It is a cultural issue. There's 14,000 school districts in the United States, and only 11, and not all the schools in those 11 districts, where veteran teachers can make $100,000 a year. Out of 14,000, 11. So until we're ready to value educators and value our school employees and give them the salaries and the incomes that they need to be able to work and to take care of themselves and their family and live in a good neighborhood and have access to good food and retire before they leave the earth, then we should stop trying to fix this every year. And I just think we need to do something pretty drastic about that. That we should be able to pay veteran teachers $100,000 a year. Our other teachers who are showing progress a substantial salary. We have to make education valuable and important, and we don't. So that's my comments. And I think, yes, ma'am.
This is, just kind of thinking out of the box, and maybe we don't make a difference, but I know that during the pandemic, Dr. Contreras, had to be the leader to get other agencies in Guilford County to come together to try to do the things we need to do to survive during the pandemic. And every year we hear a state of the city that the chamber does and the state of the city that other people do. Is it possible, and I don't know if this is a task that the new superintendent wants to take on or not, but it sounds like to me from what you're saying we need to be the voice to tell these other entities what the state of, poverty is as it relates to education. If you remember a few years ago, the chamber had a guy who came and talked about impact in the early childhood years, but nobody in his conversation, there was nothing about dollars. There was nothing about, how do we help to do this? Maybe we have to be the leader in some format, and I don't know if that takes a grant for us to do it, where we sit down with the folks in Guilford County and say, here's what it really looks like. We've been talking about this for years. Now, here's what we think you need to do to change this. It's just like when the Cone people came in, and I got all excited about that crescent that has not changed in 15 years. Because we talked about the crescent 15 years ago when I was on the city council, and that same crescent, almost the same exact crescent, still exists. Okay, what are we doing? We're just going to talk about it, or are we actually going to impact on it? And so I'm not sure exactly what I'm asking you, but can we be the leader to have that conversation and really get, whether it's the chamber, whether it's the business community, whether it's Guilford County government, the city of Greensboro, these entities to say, okay, this is where we see it. You guys have tried. The police department keeps trying to put cameras up to stop people from stealing cars. Okay, maybe there's another approach. Do we have an answer for that? Do we have best practices for how we can impact this? Because at the end of the day, it's like what, I don't know if I agree with my colleague here about not having a baby until you're 21 and getting married, but, but, I understand his point in trying to stabilize your life before you do other things. But that, waiting until you're 21 and getting married is not going to work for everybody. And it may not even be the goal for everybody. So I just am asking to put it out there that maybe we need to take the lead.
Yeah, I think we had a conversation during graduation because we had a meeting with law enforcement, High Point, Guilford County Sheriff, and Greensboro PD about some cross-systems collaboration around safety. And I remember having a conversation around working with the city and the county on these issues, because I did talk to the city the other day because, they're looking for affordable housing. So they look for what's close, available, cheap, and they're not going to get a lot of pushback. So they end up putting it in the same places over and over. So that means like Washington and Jones and Wiley and all of the schools, they're going to always be Gillespie. The compounding issues of poverty are always going to weigh on those schools very heavily. And so the decisions that the city makes around housing, around what people make, around incentives for business, because if all you have is Church's Chicken, a Family Dollar, a Dollar Tree, a Dollar General, because stores make decisions based on demographics and traffic. So we've already picked who's going to come to South and Northeast Greensboro for the most part.
But I think to your point, there was an appetite then to have those kind of cross-sector conversations. I don't know that we as public ed we can take the lead in convening a conversation. The timing's good, right? Because I'm doing that anyway as part of this transition plan. But it's going to take every sector to change the system. We can't own that.
But I do think that we can call a meeting.
Absolutely, we can call a meeting.
And discuss collaboration.
Absolutely.
We know how to call meetings.
All right, is there a motion?
I move we go into.
I'm sorry, Diane.
Oh, no, I didn't know if we were going to
Are we going to come out and make a decision or say anything? Okay. I'm sorry, Anita, go ahead.
I move we go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to discuss personnel matters protected by state law, and to give advice to our staff and attorneys regarding contested cases and captioned JB and others versus the Guilford County Board of Education, QM and others versus the Guilford County Board of Education, and ZW and others versus the Guilford County Board of Education.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're headed to closed session. Board Member Bellamy Small.
Madam Chair, we have an addendum to the personnel action report. We recommend the administrative appointment for a senior executive director.
Second. After.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Dr. Oakley.
Sure, it's my pleasure to welcome as Senior Executive Director of Technology Services. Just want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. We are welcoming Millen Mather as the Senior Executive Director of Technology Services. Yay.
Thank you. All right, we are now at board member comments. Ms. Jenkins, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much and welcome to and congratulations to our new Superintendent Oakley. And I look forward to working with you in a joint effort. Congratulations to Bessemer Elementary School for receiving exceeded growth in math, for Harrison School for receiving exceeded growth in math, and also overall school improvement is exceeded. The middle college at GTCC, overall performance grade exceeded. Thank you for all educators, parents, and students for all you do as far as supporting Guilford County Schools. As you know, my previous statement, I am very concerned about the food nutrition for the schools, especially in our Title I schools, which is predominantly most of my schools. We have students that come to school sometimes that's hungry. And we definitely want them to leave school and being hungry. And as all of you all have stated, as far as the community is concerned, students cannot learn on an empty stomach. So we definitely need to challenge that in a different area. And I look forward to hearing from Ms. Henry as far as a recommendation of what we can do as a board to make sure that's taken care of. What else I have? I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Irby?
Again, congratulations to Ms. Williams of Southwest Elementary for being our Employee of the Month. Most recently, I received a call from a community member asking me what school has the greatest need because I have some school supplies. I recommended that you just look down the block to your neighborhood school because all of our schools have the greatest need, and I just cannot pick and choose over any of the schools in Guilford County. And when I mentioned one school, she was like, wow, I actually went to that school. And I said, there you go. You have the relationship. You can go right in, and they'll be gladly, to receive your donation of school supplies. So that's, one way, to engage our communities. Congratulations to Southwest Guilford High for their over-the-top victory over High Point Central. It was well attended and managed by both of the schools very well. So congratulations to Southwest. This weekend, I'm happy to report that I was appointed to a subcommittee of the National School of Excellence program with the National PTA. So I can congratulate the schools that are recognized in Guilford County. Sternberger Elementary, Southwest Guilford Elementary, and Penn Griffin School for the Arts are our three schools that are receiving this 2-year designations of schools of excellence. And we want to encourage our other school PTAs to join the program this year. The window is open for you to become part of that program as well. I attended the North Carolina Education Policy Primer session, which was presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. And they actually shared great fact-based guide and an overview of how policy is made and the current state of public education. This discussion was to inform policymakers, candidates for public office, and our voters. For the first day of school, I was fortunate to go to Oak Hill Elementary, Southwest Guilford Middle, High Point Central, and newcomers. So I want to shout out to the very friendly office admin, Miss Elmerette Irby, that I met at Oak Hill. It was great to see Miss Bowie at at High Point Central, and welcome back to Miss Selena Keith at Southwest Middle, 8th grade science teacher extraordinaire. The highlight of this week is having the opportunity to attend a Road to Excellence rally yesterday at the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, the largest HBCU in the world. You have to say that. And witnessed and enjoyed the speeches of course, President Martin, Dr. Cardona, our Secretary of Education, and shaking the hand of our First Lady Jill Biden, who gave just an inspiring speech to the community. But mostly it stood out the young, not the student, I don't know if he was a student teacher, but the young man that gave the remarks and reminding us of the importance of having diversity in the classroom. And that is the reason why he became a teacher for us, because he wants other children to see an African-American male in the role of education. I know that we certainly have work to do with increasing diversity in our teacher pools, but it's a great goal that I'm sure we can achieve in Guilford County. We must keep front and center that education is a human right. It should be well-rounded, enriching, and exciting. It is no longer enough to be common, sound, or basic, but now it must be extraordinarily excellent and accessible to every kind of learner. Thank you.
Thank you. Winston?
I was just thinking about how excited we are to have Dr. Oakley. And without, betraying any confidence or anything, we had excellent candidates. When we set out for our search, there were naysayers who said, oh, nobody want to come work in North Carolina in this climate, or there's too many openings across the country and you won't get good candidates. And we actually had excellent candidates, well-qualified candidates, sitting superintendents in outstanding districts, folks who had worked in this district and were familiar, people from other parts of the country. So it was stiff competition, but Dr. Oakley distinguished herself in her interview and her performance and her vision and her clarity. And so I hope there are little girls out there who are in kindergarten in Guilford County schools, or maybe some high schoolers who are disappointed, as I remember your story about being disappointed in high school and finding an alternative path for yourself, pondering being a meteorologist, I think you once told me. Thank God she didn't go that route. Although that skill might come in handy as snow days approach. So, just very excited about your leadership and where we might go and build on the legacy of some very strong leaders who have been in this district for decades, and look forward to supporting that and being a part of that. And I also, strong leaders don't always cultivate other leaders, and I think Dr. Contreras did that with you and over her 6-year tenure. And so I appreciate that we're a district that creates opportunity and career pathways. We know from the research that keeps people in their jobs, and that sustainability over time matters to professions and feeling honored as a professional. So I hope we can continue to lead on that front and do even more. So thank you.
Got my buttons working here. I just want to congratulate you, Dr. Oakley, Superintendent Oakley. And I'm glad Winston mentioned that because, everybody wants to know about the search and was it nationwide? Was it far-reaching? Was it comprehensive? And yes, to all those, it really was. I think the search firm was really, I certainly think we picked the right one. Was very impressed with all of the resources and tools that they brought to bear. And it's further proof, again, not to, to keep, those confidentialities whole. But, when you look at everyone sort of goes off and does it anonymously and on our own, and then we come back and things sort of just line up, then you feel really good about it. There's consensus. And so I just want the public to know that it was very comprehensive. And a lot of discernment and work went into that. And Jill, thank you especially too for all the help and coordination. It's interesting we're talking about the academic accountability report, one of my first votes, newly elected board member, it's all the kind of the pomp and circumstance. It's, we're sitting here and people are high-fiving and patting you on the back. And one of the first votes was like, I think, $900,000 for professional development. And I voted for it. And the next morning, I got a call from a former board member. I won't name his name, but he called me and says, well, why in the world are you paying $1 million? Yes, okay. He said, why in the world are you paying a teacher to pay him how to teach?
Go to some convention.
And, and I thought, well, I mean, in the military, you train and you invest and you every day, there's tons of money. Corporations, leadership development is continual, real estate, there's professional development. So I felt like I had made this big sin. And then the more I talked, and I called my dad, I was like, I just got, raked. He's like, no, you've got to invest in that. And so I'm glad we've done that. I'm glad this board is continuing to do that. And I think the results are really clear. The high dosage tutoring, the very intensive professional development, it matters. And we see it in lots of different areas of industry, whether that be corporations, healthcare, you name it, across the board, sports, teams. So let's do the right thing and continue to do that. And I'm glad to see that numbers, will bear that out. To all the students and families that sent their children off to school just a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, just want to lift you up and know that we're here as a board to support and improve and continue to get better. And I think that's what we seek out to do every day, and just glad to be part of it. And one last note, serving on the North Carolina Safer Schools Task Force, on August 30th, the state action plan was formalized. That's a governor's task force, and it's made up of probably 20 or so people from all areas of education and backgrounds, and there's a few school board members from different parts of the state. But it's out there for the public, and so it's been finalized. So I'd encourage you to go look at that. It really is a very exhaustive and in-depth view of the state action plan and kind of where things have been and where they're headed with all levels of safety and security. That's not just SROs, that's mental health, that's all of the elements of crisis management and all those things. So encourage you to, if you're inclined, to go take a look at that. And a lot of folks did a lot more work on it than I did, so I can tell you, but it's out there for you. Thank you.
Dr. Oakley, I think you kind of know where I stand on things because I usually stand on them. So you're not in this by yourself. Dr. Contreras wasn't in it by herself. When I look out and I look at the team that between the two of you, you have assembled, I think you got, some prime people who are going to try to follow your leadership. Dr. Stevens, you did a good job tonight. Okay. I think that, as I always say, we can always thank people. We may not be able to pay you, but we can show you appreciation. Hey, talk to the county commissioners. And so I do have one question, and Dr. Oakley, you can answer this later. In looking at your board bulletin for the last week, I was looking at the membership numbers, and I think it only goes to September the 6th. And so I was just wanting to know, are we doing okay? I think according to what I see here, you're 404, at least as of that day, over what you had estimated. Is that correct, or do you know?
No, so there's two different, and I'll just share an update this week if that works for you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but we're tracking better than we were last year. We're not quite at what we had projected to be, but we're continuing to gain kids. But I'll provide another update this week.
Okay. And then my next thing is I noticed that we've been getting notices about COVID. COVID has not gone away. And so I think it'll be important for you to tell us, just to reinforce it, what we are doing, what our protocols are, how we're trying to not have this thing, get blown, out of proportion, that we're doing what we can do. Because just sending me some numbers telling me that you got 19 cases or a cluster somewhere, but what does that mean? What are we saying to parents? I think it's important that we not just act as if, for those of you who don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. I'm very pleased to see that you're doing a job fair where the people are. I wish we had a better facility to show them, but I hope that doesn't scare them away. But, if we want people to come and work for us, we got to show them, what the schools and what the buildings and those kind of things look like. And I hope that you will have a successful one. One of the things I want people to know is that where your site where you're having that is on a bus line. So if anybody on Franklin Boulevard, so if anybody's saying, well, I can't get there, it costs $1.50, I think, to ride the bus. But if we're going to pay you a little bit more than that if we hire you, so, come and give us a look. I just want to thank everybody for your hard work for getting the 2022-23 school year started. I don't think people understand, the mammoth effort that it takes to shut out a school year and then try to begin another school year and then have to wait on where money's coming from and, whether we're going to be able to feed the kids and all that kind of stuff. So, again, I can thank you. I can't do any more than that, but I can thank you. And then public education matters. And I want to thank Dr. Jill Biden for keeping the national conversation going and for making GCS a visible part of that. We were on the national stage this week. And so, when I watch the news, NBC, ABC, and they're showing Dr. Biden, but they also were showing the North Carolina A&T State University, go Aggies. Though I am a Tar Heel, but go Aggies, and our kids. I think that says a lot about where we GCS actually ranks as far as what we're trying to do. She wouldn't come here if we weren't really doing something and being a leader in this community. So. We need to be proud of that. We need to encourage that. And to the naysayers, come and be with us and not against us so that we can do what's in the best interest of all of our children. Thank you.
I too, Diane, want to thank all of the people that came out to support public education tonight. I haven't always been happy with public education, but I absolutely believe in it and think it's necessary for a democracy. And so I really appreciate that. Also want to acknowledge that September 15th through October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month. And this isn't just a time for fun, food, and festivals. As one of our speakers said tonight, that we have to teach and learn the glory and the gory of our past. And as I was in Mexico recently, and I couldn't even fill out a form to get out of the airport because it wasn't in English. And, I am really supportive and sensitive to the issues that people have in this country. It was a very humbling experience that I couldn't, I was trying to get on my phone. I was asking somebody beside me, what does this mean? What do I need to put? Because I got to turn this paper in. And it's, somebody could say, learn Spanish, right? Because that's what we do. And so, I'm also reminded that the top 5 mineral producing states in the United States, 4 of them were Mexico. And if Mexico had California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, parts of Utah, Kansas, Wyoming, and other places, if they had access to those minerals, we'd probably be trying to climb a wall and get over into Mexico. So while people are celebrating and we should also think about the impact that we've had on the devastating economy of Mexico. And so not just from September 15th to October 15th, but going forward. as we are dealing with a diverse country, and we're also dealing with the footprint of the United States. And I'm thinking about this especially in light of the Queen of England's death, and as that's been complicated by legacy and respect and appreciation, but also the glory and the gory of things that have happened. And so I just hope that we can continue to broaden our consciousness about our actions here in this country and what we can do and should correct to improve the lives of people wherever we can. So thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone.